For you purists who love the blocking and tackling, the spring game is not necessarily your flavor, but it is a little bit of football, throwing the ball around and getting a look at the Scarlet and Gray for one final time in the spring before we head toward August. And, of course, Ryan Day's first team to hit the field there in 2019. We got Tony Gerdeman on the line from the Ozone to talk Ohio State football. This, of course, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Tony, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good. And, I gave you my trials and travails in trying to track not just Ohio State spring game, but Notre Dame was playing Nebraska, all sorts of teams early in the day. And the cable company was not kind to me, but I did catch quite a bit. So we'll start with the quarterback competition, of course, if that is a competition. I thought that Justin Fields ripped off a few nice throws, and he also turned the corner once and showed that kind of explosion that we expect to see this fall.
Yeah, the running aspect, which Buckeye fans didn't get to see last year, nobody really saw last year with Dwayne Haskins, even though it's been there every year before, with JT Barrett and Braxton Miller. But we definitely got to see him use his speed, use his ability to get out of trouble. But with the two-hand touch on the quarterbacks, he could only do so much. But I think it gives you an indication of what the offense will look like this season. And even if he doesn't have complete command of the offense, if he's got 85% command, the extra 15 he can make up with his legs easily. And they will also use his legs to where they wouldn't ask him to do something he can't do, and then just work on what he is good at and then build from there if he does win the job. And every indication right now is that he's in the lead, but there's still an off season. There's still a summer camp where things can happen. I know I'd say 99% of the people believe that Justin Fields will be the starter and that there's not really a competition, but he has to maintain a level or else he won't be starting. That's, if people want to say that he's been anointed, that's fine, but he can lose the job by not playing well in a camp. I mean, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, the team is good enough around him that I don't think the coaching staff, regardless of his amount of hype and blue chip status coming into the program, would sabotage a season with a quarterback who can't comprehend the offense or execute the offense in favor of somebody. If they just get serviceable quarterback play, if Matthew Baldwin throws 25 touchdowns and 10 picks and is serviceable, they probably have enough to contend for a Big Ten championship, if not win it for sure. So they don't need the quarterback messing up the rest of the team. You obviously want him to be an addition to the dynamic talent they have elsewhere and be Justin Fields that's expected to show up and then contend for winning all the games or only losing one and being in the mix for a playoff spot.
Yeah, many a Big Ten title has been won by a serviceable quarterback.
Absolutely. No question about that. And Matthew Baldwin's performance, how would you rate what you got to see there?
It's what we saw during the spring where he wasn't always accurate, but still was able to make some throws and can run a little bit. Was more accurate than Justin Fields, but I try to remind people last year that Dwayne Haskins was 9 of 19 and Joe Burrow was something like, 15 of 22. And, we saw what happened with Dwayne Haskins. So, don't put too much stock into a spring game performance. It's one of 15 practices in the spring, and it's one of 30 or so before the game actually starts in August 31st. But it's one of the more important practices. It's the one where you get to see the coaches like to see the players in a big crowd. Not every school can do that. Ohio State had 61,000 or 62,000 yesterday due to some renovations. So it was his first opportunity, Justin Fields' first opportunity to play in front of the crowd, but also Matthew Baldwin's first real opportunity and chance to play on Ohio Stadium turf in front of a crowd, because he didn't play at all last year. In the spring game last year, he was still recovering from an ACL tear the December before. So this is a brand new opportunity, brand new situation for him. I think just based on what we know of both quarterbacks, I think they would be fine with either. Now, the ceilings between the two are a little bit different, but I don't know that they would need somebody to reach their ceiling to reach their goal. You know, if you follow, like, I don't think they needed Dwayne Haskins to play as well as he did last year to win a national title. They just needed a better defense.
Yeah, that would have helped. We will get to that. The one thing I will put stock in, talking about placing stock in certain performances based on your first evaluation, and then what I saw of Garrett Wilson, just the fluidity of catching the ball and then being able to spin and just make guys miss in the secondary. And he looked the part.
Yeah, he does not look like a freshman. You know, he's right now, he was third on the depth chart, but that's not going to last for long. And even if you are third on the depth chart on some of these positions at Ohio State, you're still good enough to play, so you will play. And he's one of those guys, you know, it would be a waste of talent to keep him on the bench, you know, this season. And they rotate their receivers. They usually have, you know, 6 starters, as they've had since about 2013 or so. And they may have 8 this year that they just continue to roll through. And he's one of those guys who plays, he's maybe 6 foot 6'1", but you saw on his touchdown catch, plays like he's 6'3" or 6'4" when it's necessary. He can go up and get the ball. He just understands, you know, spatial awareness is one of the things that coaches like to talk about in basketball. You know, he's got it in football, and he can get around guys. He's fast. You mentioned he's elusive. He's just very, very natural and never looks overwhelmed. And, you know, he's working on his blocking. That's going to be the thing that maybe dictates more than anything else how much he plays. But he got in early. You know, he enrolled in the winter. He's worked on it. He's getting stronger by the day. They work on his blocking constantly. And he's a willing blocker. And I think, you know, once the season gets here, he's going to be a regular. And, I mean, he'll be a regular because he's irregular. You know, he's different than most freshmen.